Picture the coastline of Norway. We're talking thousands of miles of fjords, deep inlets, and jagged rocks. It is way, way too complicated to describe accurately in just one sentence, right?
But what if you zoom all the way in to just a single beach? Suddenly, you can describe it super easily. There's sand here, some rocks over there, and the shoreline runs roughly north to south. You've completely lost that complicated big picture of the whole country, sure, but you've gained something just as useful. You have a simple, totally accurate description of the exact spot you actually care about. Okay, let's dive into this, because that beautiful coastline metaphor perfectly translates into a revolutionary concept for understanding complex machine learning. It's an approach called LIME, which stands for Local Interpretable Model-Agnostic Explanations.
The reality we face today is that our machine learning models are incredibly, almost unimaginably complex. We're dealing with ensembles packed with literally thousands of decision trees, or deep neural networks that have millions of parameters. They are effectively impossible to understand as one big whole. It would be like trying to map every single inch of that massive Norwegian coast all at the exact same time.
So LIME takes a completely different approach. It doesn't even try to explain the entire model. Instead, it zooms in on just one single prediction and asks a much smaller, highly focused question. In this one tiny neighborhood, what simple rule behaves almost exactly like the complicated model does? Let's move to and see how this builds in practice. It's actually a pretty clever step-by-step process. First, LIME takes your one specific data point. Second, it generates a whole swarm of synthetic neighbors around it, basically just slightly tweaked versions of that initial input. Third, it runs all those new inputs through the real, complicated model just to see how it responds. And finally, step 4, it fits a simple, easy-to-read linear model to those local results. That simple model becomes your explanation. And it's perfectly valid right around that one prediction, even if it would be completely wrong somewhere else on the map.
Let's ground this with a real human example. Take a student named David. Imagine he's flagged by an AI system as being 92% likely to fail a class. Without any explanation, that 92% is just a mysterious, terrifying black box for him and his teachers.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how LIME completely breaks down that specific verdict. It reveals exactly what is driving David's score. His homework completion rate of 45%, that pushes hard toward failure. His 1.9 GPA reinforces that trend, while his 3 hours of weekly study adds some moderate pressure. Suddenly, David and his teachers know exactly what's going on. It's no longer a mysterious black box number, but 3 clear, human-readable reasons driving the verdict.
And this perfectly illustrates why this tool is such a game changer. It's powerful precisely because it is model agnostic. See, LIME doesn't care if you're using a random forest, a neural network, or basically anything else behind the scenes. It treats the complex model as a totally sealed box and only watches how it behaves from the outside, right in that specific neighborhood.
To sum it all up with a quote straight from our source material, one prediction, one clear local story, that's the whole point of LIME. So I'll leave you with this. If we don't actually need to decode the entire, massive AI brain just to understand a single, critical decision, how might this kind of local transparency fundamentally change our everyday trust in AI?